Are you Deborah Lee Bingaman?
No, sir.
Or Diana Lee Bingaman, excuse me. Yes, I get your name straight. That's important. There is a Deborah Bingham, but that's not you. You're Diana Lee Bingaman.
Yes, sir.
You're here with your lawyer, Mr. Timothy George, probation officer. Matthew Huff is here. Matt and I discussed this case last week, Friday. He had some pretty strong concerns about what happened here and about your circumstance. Mr. George, what would you like me to know?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think just at the outset, it's always important in these types of situations that, we're fortunate that this didn't hurt or injure anybody else in the other vehicle or my client, that she is still here today to talk about what's going on. My client is young, and I think that she was upfront about her circumstances and what was going on the day of offense. I think it was a little bit ugly in some ways that she was, had been drinking during that day and was getting ready to go to work. But I think that she was straight up with Mr. Huff. Based on the circumstances, I know that she is embarrassed by this. She's taking it very seriously. She's called me a couple of times in advance of today's hearing just to ask questions about what's going on and what to expect. So I know that she's taking it seriously. And I think that just this process is having its intended effect. So I think in total, Matt's recommendation is on point. We would ask the court to follow it. Thank you.
Ms. Bingman, is there anything you want to say to me? You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but if you wish to, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
It was an accident, and I didn't mean to hurt anybody. I know I didn't hurt anybody, but I didn't mean to crash anybody. And I just felt really bad. But in this report, it said that I had 2 shots, but I had 3. It also says that I had a quarter, but it was a quarter 2.5.
You had 3 shots and 2.5 quarts. Is that what you said?
No, I had 3 shots, and this right here, it says I had 2. I had 3.
Well, your blood alcohol was 0.27. You had more than 3 shots.
And yeah, I also had the quarter to a half of the mixed drink that I had.
Okay. Well, you drank a lot, and we were concerned about several different things. And I keep saying this. Last week, Friday, I had about 6 young women struggling with substance abuse issues. And most of them were older than you are. And I started to see them when they were your age, in their 20s. And they get into their 30s and their 40s, and their life has been a mess. The other thing is I've been seeing a lot of very high blood alcohol levels. The old days of having somebody with a 0.12 or a 0.13, many of the cases are in a very high blood alcohol level. 3.1, 2.7. 2.7 is a very high blood alcohol level. It's 3 times the lawful limit to drive a car. Most people can't get that drunk without either getting sick or falling asleep. You have to build up a tolerance to drink that much alcohol. The other concern I had is this was nearly a fatal accident. Where this accident was on the S-curves on US 12 is a notoriously bad intersection. And there have been, it's not even an intersection, a notoriously bad piece of road where there have been numerous fatals over the year. years. If you ask somebody from Sturgis about it, they'll tell you they remember when so-and-so was killed at that intersection. I'm glad you weren't, and I'm certainly glad the people in the other car weren't. So you're drinking excessively, you're smoking weed, and you're gonna go to work, which is very scary. There was a young woman from Three Rivers, a woman. She's close to my age, so I don't know how young that is, but she was in a similar accident to this, and she hit someone and seriously injured them. She was a .16. She was also on medication, and she got a lengthy jail sentence. She denied drinking anything. As your lawyer said, I think you were pretty straight up, but I'm not sure what's going on with you. What is the underlying reason that you are drinking to this level, to that you were going to work, this level of intoxication? Now you work at a marijuana dispensary, and if I put you on probation, you won't be able to use marijuana as a condition of your probation. And Matt, I know you put a lot of thought into this because there's no great right answer that presents itself here. What's your thought?
Well, I don't want to repeat too much of what the court has already heard. Obviously, as you just indicated, I mean, this is a serious case, and I think I indicate that in my report in the opinion section. Typically, my recommendation as far as a jail sanction would be much higher than this, given the fact of the blood alcohol content, the fact that she had open intox in the car, she had just used marijuana. It was an accident that took place at a bad intersection. I do believe, as the court's witness today, she's taking this serious. And so while the court could certainly extend out the amount of days in jail, I do think that a period of probation would be the most appropriate, regardless of how many days in jail she serves, so that we can be sure that this isn't something that's going to happen again. I'd rather Miss Bingaman successfully complete a probation this time around than us see her back in 6 months, a year in sobriety court.
Well, like all the ladies I saw Friday who came in here as 20-year-olds and now are still here as 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds. And it's not just last Friday, it's like all often. I've been here for a long time, and people, I watched their decline. It's sometimes hard to watch. Mr. Bush's client, who isn't here, falls in that category. I've known her for 30 years probably.
I would also just add that I think the educational piece is important in this, because it seems apparent that Ms. Bingaman doesn't understand how alcohol affects her body as much to get to that 0.27 level, as you indicated. I mean, a few shots and half of a mixed drink, a couple of hours before you take a blood draw, 3 hours before you take a blood draw, typically doesn't get you to that 0.27. And most people, as you indicated, are fall over drunk or unable to do anything or out at a 0.27. So I have some concern. I think a probation addresses that concern.
Well, I don't want to go too much in depth here, but young women with a 2.7 blood alcohol level have childhood trauma. They're killing the pain. Here's Miss Morgan, Mr. Bush. And so she needs a psychological assessment as well as a substance abuse assessment. Something is going on underlying this, and that's what I really want to get a handle on. Now, how do you get back and forth to work?
Currently, I have a friend driving me,
All right, because
or
you're
I
gonna,
walk if they can't.
well, you're gonna lose your driver's license. You have a bruise on your arm that looks like a thumbprint.
It's from an exhaust. My friend's
Okay.
exhaust came off, and my arm was in there and trying to get it out. Cause it's stuck.
All right. What are you making an hour?
I mean, 15.
Are you working 40 hours a week?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who do you live with?
Myself. Currently, my friend stays with me that's driving me back and forth to work.
That's not a lot of money to maintain your own residence, but is your rent subsidized?
I think it still is, yeah.
How much is your rent?
$543.
All right. Well, you're just a young woman trying to make your way in the world, and it can go a couple of different ways. You can try to deal with the problem now, or you will have an unhappy next 20 years. I'm going to order 24 months probation, 10 days in jail. Credit 2, leaving 8 days to serve. Of the 10 days, 6 are deferred. You're going to do another weekend. That'll be scheduled by the probation department. You almost killed some people. I'm going to use the standard fine, $300, $75 crime victims' rights fee, a $50 state minimum fee, a $100 screening fee, a $150 attorney fee, $960 probation oversight fee, which could be reduced by $480 if you complete this in a year. Again, the prosecutor's not here. How much is restitution to the sheriff's department?
I did not receive a restitution request. I know that it's submitted in this case, but the prosecutor has that file.
I think it's $200. This was an accident with blood draws.
Correct.
That's a lot of money. And I want a substance abuse assessment. I want a mental health assessment. No drugs and no alcohol, including marijuana. This is a big pill for a 22-year-old to swallow, to think I can't drink anymore. And I don't know whether you can or whether you can't. I know during this period you can't. It's called a timeout to assess where you are. There's also a young girl on Big Hill Road about your age. She was drunk and she hit a tree and she killed her best friend. And now she lives with that every day, and so does the family of the girl she killed. I'm happy for their sake and your sake that that didn't happen here. Let's add that money up. 300 plus 75 plus 50. Drunk driving is expensive and our costs are less than many places. 150, 960, 200. You did order the victim impact panel.
I believe it'd be appropriate, Your Honor.
That's $32. At some point, there'd be a speaker at the victim impact panel. 1,867. The bond was a PR bond. You can come out the other side of this better than you came in. I guess that's our hope. We're going to do drug and alcohol testing as directed. And again, no marijuana. If you tested today, would you be positive for marijuana? All right, this may be a hard thing because it's a condition of this probation that you can't use marijuana. All right, I'm hopeful here. I think you're legitimately remorseful. I think that you were as honest as you could be with Matt, but there's some underlying problems here. I had a young woman in sobriety course several years ago. She was on her way to a job interview at a 0.17. While she was in our program, she graduated from the sobriety court program. She finished college. She got a degree as a social worker. She's still sober, and I believe she's involved in helping people in recovery. She wasn't much older than you are. I had another woman that was driving to her first day at work at a 0.17. She's completed the sobriety court program, and I believe she's still sober. So you're not sobriety court material at this point. This is a first offense, but maybe we can intervene and help you become a successful adult. All right, I want you to go downstairs. Matt will be down and meet with you in a little bit. Do you have any questions? All right, you're good to go. All right, let me address